Welcome to the Giraffe Social Media Podcast. It's what social media managers are talking about. I'm Caitlin McKenzie, and today I'm joined by some great members of the Giraffe team. We've got Senior Social Media Manager Dom.
Hello, everyone.
Social Media Manager Laura.
Hi, everyone.
And Social Media Manager Nicole.
Hello.
So today's coffee break episode is being held in honor of a very special brand new day. It's Social Media Manager Day, which is very exciting and hasn't happened before. That's right, isn't it, Laura?
Yep, that's right. First of many.
First of many. Celebrated at last, guys.
Yes, finally.
Finally.
Well, before we get into talking about us and our jobs, the paths that led us here, and sort of what it is to be an SM, which is what we will be talking about today. First things first, this is a coffee break. So what coffees are you breaking with? What are we drinking today, guys?
No, I've just got my normal, filter coffee, milk, 1 sugar. Classic, standard. That's just me.
I'm the same, just a little cup of coffee. I was almost tempted to run down to Costa and get a coffee for this occasion, but...
Oh, this would be the perfect excuse.
I know. I should have treated myself. It is our special day, but maybe next time.
Yeah, I have also just gone for coffee, milk, 1 sweetener. Beautiful.
And a very cute mug, I might add. Listeners to the podcast won't be able to see a very cute hedgehog is on Laura's mug.
My favourite animal.
My mug isn't very exciting, but I'm very excited about what's in it. Have you guys heard of coffee bags?
Oh, yeah. I've heard of it.
Yeah. Game changed. I'm very precious about coffee, and I have instant because I'm a realist, but I much prefer real coffee, right? And I went on a hike and I couldn't be bothered to I just couldn't cope with having instant for a whole week. I was like, no. So I did some research, and you can buy these coffee bags, and they're tea bags full of ground coffee. And you just steep them in water for 45 minutes, give them a squeeze. I've currently got a decaf one because I'm having one of those really busy days where I'm on edge. So I thought caffeine ain't going to help anything.
No.
But yeah, so okay, let's get cracking. So guys, congratulations on being social media managers, first of all. I'm really interested to know how we all came to be social media managers. Dom, you're a senior social media manager. Well, that's I'm going to forget how to say those words soon. How did you come to work here and find yourself in this role?
Yeah, so my journey started in social media working at a nightclub in Portsmouth. I just ran the social media pages for them. But I was getting to a point in my career where I sort of hit my limit there. I needed something new. So that's when I saw an opportunity to work at Giraffe, and it was just a part-time social media manager role. So yeah, went for it. Luckily got asked back for a second interview. And, got hired, so clearly they liked me. And then so started off. Then a month into it, I got made full-time, which,
quick,
as Phil stated, it was the quickest that anyone had been made full-time, just so you know.
Sure.
But yeah, and then I've been working a year as a social media manager, to a point where an opportunity came to become a senior social media manager. Obviously it was offered internally. I went for the role and managed to get it, and been doing a senior role for a year now. So altogether I'm coming up to 2 years at Giraffe. And it's been great. Every day is different. Every week brings a new challenge. But that's sort of been my journey so far, and I'm looking forward to the future.
That's awesome. And I think when you say every week brings a new challenge, I was like, oh no, we're the challenges. Anyone listening? So as a senior social media manager, we all sort of look to Dom and go to Dom with our help me moments, and what do we do for this? And he helps deliver training and just generally keeps us all on the straight and narrow. So thanks, Dom. Round of applause. How about you, Nicole? How did you
Yeah.
come to work at Giraffe?
My journey started really when I was around 15 or 16. I used Twitter quite a lot, and it was peak following time on Twitter when follow Fridays, like follow for follow, were a huge thing. And I managed to get around like 13,000 followers, and I thought I was really cool, obviously. And I thought, like, wow, maybe I could like do this as a job. Like maybe, you know, if I tell people that I have followers, I can get followers for them, and maybe that's something I should do. So I was interested in media anyway, and that's what I studied at university, and that was kind of my goal, was to be a social media manager. I remember telling my tutors that that's the job I wanted to do, and they didn't really understand, especially, you know, back then. But thankfully, you know, at university, I was able to do a placement year and really focus on that. And then in my final year at university, the position at Giraffe came about, and it was part-time. So I got to do that while studying, and now do it full-time. So I'm living my 16-year-old dream, which is kind of awesome. And especially because like it's changed so much since then. Like so many things have been added to the role that I couldn't have even imagined. That didn't even exist, really. So it has been a journey, but it's a good one. Yeah, no, I love it.
I love that. I don't think any of us realised that yours went so far back in time.
I know.
Oh, that's amazing. Also, did you have any really cool followers? Have your 13? It was
don't
back in the
think
day
so.
when people like Justin. I think I knew a girl that Justin Bieber followed, and that was just like a game changer. At the
So
time.
cool. Yeah,
Wow.
no, I know. So many like B-list celebrities would just follow so many people as well. It was when you would just literally follow anyone to get the followers. It was a great time. I would
It
go
really
back there
was.
any day. I know.
It reminds me of the time. Do you remember when on Instagram you could put like the 30 hashtags on any photo, and they would just get 70, 100 likes? Oh,
Yeah.
that was
Good
the
times.
days. Speaking of interesting followers, I just feel like I need to brag about this. But you know, you've seen Mean Girls.
Yeah.
You know Damien. I want my
Yeah.
pink shirt back. He followed me, and I think he still does to this day. And I just feel like that's a big
so
achievement.
cool.
That is.
Thanks,
I
guys.
hope that goes on your next CV.
I love that. I love that.
Anyway, how about you, Laura? How did you come to be an SM?
So I studied public relations at uni, which is kind of where my love for content began, I guess. Strangely enough, kind of went into PR not knowing a lot about it. I think sort of 5 years ago when I started uni. A lot has changed since then, and I think over my uni journey a lot was sort of changing about social. We were learning a lot about it, so that sort of spiked my interest. And then I started a marketing assistant role a few days out of uni last year, and that was sort of a very generalist type role. There was a sort of, you had your fingers in all the pies. But one thing that I just loved doing and seemed to do well was the social side of it. So then when I saw the job for social media manager and everything that's entailed, just had to go for it. And yeah, the last 6 months have been history.
Amazing. I guess it's my turn. My story is like similar to Nicole's in the second half. I studied creative and media writing at university, and I sort of went there. Originally I was like, I'm going to be a famous writer, and then I was like, oh, I should probably learn how to do that, so went to uni. And I really, while I was there, I thought I wanted to like write poems and novels and stuff, but we did like media writing, so we did things like blog and content writing and that sort of thing. And I was like, oh, well, I really like this. And I think you guys, we can get into it a bit later about the different parts of the job we like, but I really liked that you saw like sort of an immediate satisfaction, as opposed to like when you try and publish something in real life, that can take years. So yeah, that's what kind of turned my head. And then I did a placement year like Nicole, and I worked for a British department store, and I ran the editorial. So I was like involved with all the articles, but then it was how writing those articles went onto social, and like, so I was posting Instagram stories for them and things. I was like, well, this is just exciting. And then, yeah, while I was at uni in my final year, where Nicole and I actually shared a class or two, very cute. Yeah, and then so I heard about the Giraffe job, and I knew Nicole worked at Giraffe, and it was, yeah, very exciting, and applied, and yeah, here we are. I'm a social media manager too. Go us. So what are your like favorite parts of the role, guys? How about you, Dom? What's your fave bit? Apart from helping us with all of our problems.
That's my favorite bit, yeah. For me, do you know, I really like doing the paid advertising side of things. Just generating results, especially if you generate a return on investment for your clients, whether that's, you know, purchases, leads. It's just so fulfilling knowing that you are helping that client to further their business and hit their objectives, their goals. That's yeah, paid advertising for me is definitely my number one. And the fact that, like I sort of mentioned before, that every day is different, every day is a different challenge, and and it's exciting. No day is the same, which is what I really like.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with Dom. One thing I love about the role is that every day is different. There's always something new to learn as well. Always. I mean, you could read endless articles and think you know everything, like research, and then the next day you'll read something new and there'll be, you know, the platforms updating, or there'll just be, you know, something new to try out. And I also love developing a strategy for clients. I think, you know, they come to you because they need your help with something, and you put that whole strategy together that fits and suits their objectives and their needs, and you present it to them, and you see 9 times out of 10 times out of 10 they're thrilled with sort of what you've done, and yeah, the strategy you've put in place, from posting to paid ads, to building their brand awareness, to gaining them conversions, everything. I love seeing those strategies sort of come together for clients.
Yeah, definitely. I'd have to agree with both of those points. I think no 2 days are the same. And what's most interesting for me is just how quickly the industry is changing. You know, as I said before, when I was 16, I had no idea. I knew nothing about paid ads. I honestly, my dream was to just post for a business, and I thought that was going to be it. Whereas now there's so many extra bits that fall into that. Like Laura said, you know, creating a strategy, focusing on their objectives, creating new pieces of content, following trends and data. You know, there's so much to it. And every day it seems like there's a new feature or something to learn, which maybe is one of the challenges, but also, you know, it keeps it exciting. And I think it's really fun when something new comes out, because you can see that everyone is just trying it out and just seeing how it's going to do. And that's sort of fun to experiment. I think that's allowed in our industry, which I'm really happy with. You know, you can try out things, and sometimes things don't work, but sometimes they do, and it's great.
I agree. I think that's a really nice way of putting it. I think we're almost like, in our industry, we've kind of like got our fingers on the pulse a little bit. Like, it's changing so quickly, and also we're at the front of it because we're, you know, experts. We work with it every single day, and whereas there's so many businesses and individuals that don't even use it yet, but we need to. But yeah, so it's nice to be sort of leading that charge. And also, I think it's really nice to have a business come to us and they just openly admit they don't know a thing about social media. They may realize, but not for the business. And it's just nice to be able to like take that uncertainty and like show them the way. And like I love, my personal thing I think is like seeing it all come together, because especially because I come from a kind of a content-y kind of background, like with the writing side of things. I love writing posts and putting together a schedule, but I think there's something really rewarding about starting with this, well, speaking to the client, starting with a strategy, bringing it all together, looking at the competitors, working up a paid social strategy, and then just like mashing it all together, and then actually seeing that convert and turn into real results. And like you said, Don, that helps them achieve their goals. Like, it's just so rewarding.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but for me, one of my pet hates is if anybody sort of says, "Now, what do you do?" And you go, "Oh yeah, I'm a social media manager." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, so you post on Facebook? Is that what you do?" Like, we do. It's really hard to sort of define a social media manager's role as well, because we do so much, from, like I said, building a strategy to paid advertising to creating content, to building a brand, to community management, to actually designing images. There's there's so much that we do in our role. But it's great though, because it is a challenge. But yeah, social media manager is more than just posting. For all out there that believe it's just about posting, there's a lot more that goes into it.
Absolutely. I feel like any other social media manager I speak to, that's like the biggest thing in terms of like things they don't love so much about their job, is that, especially I think they really get it, because I guess everyone we work in an agency, so we're all in a very, very similar boat, so we all get how much each other do, and all of our to-do lists are equally large, I'm sure. But I guess we're quite lucky, because if we worked in like a business and we were in like a traditional like food chain of like making content and stuff, nobody else in that business understands how complicated it is to be a social media manager. So I feel like we are very lucky. But yeah, the struggle's real. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, definitely. I do think it's one of those things that's probably still very misunderstood. And also the importance of it is really misunderstood. Like, I mean, I don't think I know any brands that aren't on social. I mean, I know brands that don't do it well, but I don't know any brands that aren't on social. It's just so important now that to be at the forefront of consumers' minds or audiences' minds, to be on social now. And with that, like you said, Dom, comes so many elements, from everything you mentioned to reporting, analytics, like learning. We're constantly on top of learning new things. We're also constantly learning about what we're doing, like over the month, in terms of paid ads, organic posting. We're just constantly analysing, or having to analyse what we do, to make sure that we are doing like the best thing for our clients, and make sure that that we're just continuously learning and staying on trend.
And I think, as much as we are the experts and we're providing this service for our clients, they can also teach us sometimes as well. I think that's a nice way of looking at it. Yeah, we have so many different clients and they're so diverse. If something works for one client, we can try it for another, and just like I said, experimenting really. I think that's what I probably love most, is just dealing with so many different types of businesses, and each of them are different but can also be replicated in different ways. I think that's really interesting. But I'm the same. None of my friends know what I do at all. And they're young. I don't mean to be ageist and say that it's just older people who don't understand, but even people, my friends don't really know exactly what it is that I'm doing. And you're right, Dom, there's so much that we do that is just, nobody really understands it.
I guess now we can just direct people to this podcast, eh?
That's true.
Do you know, one thing that kind of makes me laugh is when people say like, oh, I was looking at, I don't know, I was searching for beds online and suddenly I was inundated with adverts about beds. That is just so weird, this kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, that was probably me that did that.
It's so funny you say that, because I literally hear that all the time.
Yeah, me too.
And before, when I didn't realise, when I didn't know a lot about social media or how ads worked, I was the same. And now that I know how they work, it's like, it just makes you laugh when you hear people say it.
Yeah, definitely.
Funny, my dad literally this weekend was like, oh, I start seeing these ads and I just report them now. I was like, Dad, I was like, what was wrong with the ad? And he was like, well, I just wasn't interested. I was like, there's a different function for that. I was like, oh, you can just scroll right past it. I'm just feeling for the poor social media manager who has to deal with like the ads being rejected, or like, why aren't they performing well? And it's just my dad sitting in his living room like, nah. And he's like, how do I know it's real? I was like, Well, that's like the point of the platform, isn't it? The platform has to, that's why they have all, as we all know well, all those hoops to jump through. They're there for a reason, to make sure stuff goes well. I guess that could be maybe a less loved part about the job, is trying to like understand the secret language of ad approval and things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that, just like we say, it's changing all the time, and just different regulations and different like little random things that trip ads off. I think sometimes our clients don't really know how much of the work we take away from them, even just in terms of like chasing things up with Facebook. I know Dom does that for a lot of our team, and again, thanks, mate. But do you find that quite a stressful part of the job, Dom?
It is, yeah, because like you said, it, you know, a sort of a rejection of an ad can, you know, lead to a lot of issues, especially with your client that you're working on. So it is difficult to stay on top of Facebook's policies all the time, you know, Instagram, all of the social media policies, especially when they don't really give you the best feedback either. A lot of time is just, you know, generic response. Yeah, just, you know, review this ad and that's it. And it's like, okay, can you support me further, please? Most of the time you're probably talking to a bot or something. But yeah, it is challenging, but it's one of those things, isn't it? Is that the beauty of it is that you are constantly learning, and your mind is constantly active, because you are taking in all this new information all the time, and it definitely keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think going back to what Nicole said as well, is like the beauty of being a social media manager in an agency is that we learn so much from each other and so many different clients, and sort of that really helps to know what does best, particularly with ads as well. Like, it's just, yeah, it's a really great way of continuously collaborating with each other and having that support network as well.
Definitely agree. And I mean, I think one thing that we haven't touched on, which has just occurred to me that we all definitely need a day celebrating ourselves in, is that all the different industries that we work across. I think that's a hard thing to try and to explain to people. They're like, oh yeah, but you just post, for example. I'm like, yeah, but we're posting about finance, and we have to understand like the Financial Conduct Authority regulations, and we're posting about I have some property clients. I'm now some kind of property expert, which is just the randomest thing in the world, and like just so many different industries. Do you guys like find that like takes up a bit of time? Like, there's so much research to be done.
Yeah, but that's why, like, for our new clients anyway, we do go through that strategy week, don't we? Which gives us that opportunity to learn about the client and the industry that they're in. It's quite exciting though, because can you imagine just working in one industry all the time? For me anyway, it would get a bit boring. But to be able to sort of get an idea of how each industry works, whether it's, you know, in the food industry, finance, you know, you could be selling clothing, anything. It's just, it really just allows you to learn a lot.
I find sometimes like handling a lot of clients at once, it can be, even though you go through the strategy and you know what their tone of voice is, like switching off from one tone of voice straight to another tone of voice can sometimes be a bit mind-boggling. So you're having to sort of think about exactly what you're trying to say and how you're trying to say it, and change, like you said, through such a variety of different industries. Is one of the challenging aspects of it. It is definitely something I think you get used to over time. But I know definitely coming from an in-house role where you kind of have to be an advocate for that company and you have to know everything inside out, to sort of then coming to agency and you have just like such a better variety. And yeah, like you said, just going back to learning. Honestly, I think I just spend my entire day learning new things.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, one of the biggest challenges has been, well, I guess it's a blessing and a curse, but because of how big the industry has gotten, you know, it can't be understated how difficult organic reach is now. And I think this probably goes back to a couple of episodes where we spoke about the paid strategy and the organic strategy together. But it's so much harder to build those communities now because there's such a huge amount of people on social media. Sometimes, you know, people have an expectation that it's really easy, and that you can grow these followings overnight. But we all know that's not the case. So I think that's something that's probably only going to get more challenging as time goes on. But again, you know, you learn from the work you do in different clients, and you can put that to different strategies, and you do find out what works, but it's just trying to manage that in a way, and it is difficult, you know, to get that organically now.
Definitely. I think for me as well, one of my key takeaways, if I could give any advice to anybody, is patience. Patience with social media, because results do not happen overnight. Social media is a long-term strategy, to especially building a brand. You know, McDonald's, did they build their brand overnight? No, it took years and years. Coke, Nando's, all the big brands.
Dom shouting out his dream clients right now. Just if you're listening,
yeah,
we can help.
Shout me out. Yeah, no, patience, because results don't happen overnight. It takes time to learn about your audience demographic, who you want to target. You know, producing all these strategies we've talked about, organic, paid. Yeah, patience is the key.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think, like you guys say, we're just learning all the time. We must have the biggest brains ever. But like, even to the fact, like you say, like the platforms are constantly changing, and every account is so different, and every kind of client is so different, and you can be absolutely smashing it, and then you dip into a new industry with a new client, and you're like, the same things don't work anymore, and you're like, what? So yeah, we're just constantly adapting, and I think we should all give ourselves a pat on the back, because I think that takes an element of like resilience as well. Just everyone's nodding, by the way, it's very cute. But yeah, like I think we're just like you say, we're constantly evolving, and we're all so present all the time, and I think that's tough. So yeah, let's celebrate us. Why don't we wrap up by talking about, like, does anyone have any dream clients that they'd like to work with one day in their social career? I can go first if you want. I just love working within the food sector. I'm currently working with a dairy-free chocolate client, and it's just like all of my dreams come true. But I absolutely love like Oatly and Innocent Smoothies. I've probably said this on this podcast before, but I'm gonna keep saying it until they ring me. But yeah, I just love brands.
They have great social media as well, don't they?
Right, they just have such like really fun tones of voice, and they're so confident. And Yorkshire Tea as well, they are so great. If you want some inspiration of how to interact with other people on social as a brand and like be really confident and just own it, Yorkshire Tea's responses to, especially when they get dragged into crisis and stuff, they're just so clever. So shout out. How about you guys?
A former media studies student now. I guess I can't call myself a student. I definitely would love to manage any kind of campaign for like a new film release or something like that. You know, how cool would that be? Not just so I can be invited to the premiere, of course, but you know, I love all of that, all the teasers. They must have so much content from film releases, and I feel like that would be so much fun.
Yeah, I think I have two dream clients in mind. One would be Longleat Safari Park, because animals. Their social is obviously full of really cute animal content, and I think that would just be a really, really sweet. And my other dream client would probably be Fenty Beauty. I think the way the brand has been launched, it's just like very clever. In sort of the company values like shine through the brand as well, and I love that. I think that's like really, really important in this sort of time, this sort of era that we're in. I think that's really important. So I think those two would be my top two.
Love that. How about you, Dom?
You read my mind with the zoo. I think that would be so much fun. Can you imagine all the cute pictures of the animals you'd be able to get? Oh,
yeah, and like I feel like you could ask as well and be like, "Can I come and take my own pictures?" And just
It's
Yeah.
really important for the strategy that I
It's
get to
really-
go in the enclosures.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think the other one would probably be Man United, just because, you know, my favorite football team. To be within, you know the inside goss on the latest transfers that you'd be working on. Yeah, I think that would be mine. Man United and Azul.
Well, that's all we've got time for today, unfortunately. Thank you so much for listening and celebrating Social Media Manager Day with us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And you can also connect with us on all major social channels and let us know if you're a social media manager, what you love about the job, who your dream client would be. We would love to know. We've been Giraffe Social Media. You've been amazing. We'll see you next time.